Welcome back to the Bakugan Wiki Podcast. I'm Venomous Brass, here with your three esteemed hosts.
I'm Hato, also known as Lamar Devante, the one with the subscriber count.
I'm See What I, and I'm getting real tired of Hato's crap. We do more than you, Hato. No, hi, I'm See What I.
And I'm Rigatoni Jones, and I'm just here stand by the side as this drama is unfolding out before me. Welcome back to Drama Alert Nation, Brawler Alert Nation, and welcome to our podcast.
We've got a little bit of an episode for you today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of the game stuff, and then we're going to end it off with a little bit of an overview / review of the first episode or two, depending on how you look at it, of the show. First off, let's talk about Bakugan release date. We have heard from community manager Ventus Knight that the official release date for Bakugan Battle Planet products is January 1st, 2019. Now, it's a little interesting because several people have gotten stuff early. Like, before the preview event even happened, we had some people in areas like Texas already getting some of the Baku solos. And then we've had some other people, such as myself, get card collections before Christmas, like the week before Christmas.
And if you're in Canada, you're screwed both ways because Amazon Canada has Jack Dong from Amazon.com. And Walmart, from what I've heard, is supposed to get it, I think, the end of next week, something along those lines, but we're not getting it right now. So we are even farther behind the USA right now.
Right. Now, about actual release stuff, several stores have been putting stuff out early, which, according to Ventus Knight, is completely fine. It's up to the individual retailers when their stuff goes out. Just like to mention at first that we are recording this episode on December 29th. To the best of my knowledge, plenty of stores, Walmart's mostly, were supposed to get in multi-packs, maybe some solos, yesterday, as well as getting the rest of the stuff next Friday, January 4th. So it's possible that your store has stuff out already. There's a good chance they're waiting, or they don't have anything at all. So it may be worth checking out your local stores if you want to get in on that Baku action.
There's also some stuff on Amazon in the US right now. Even if it's not in stock, you can still order, like the starter deck that comes with 40 cards is up for a kind of pre-order right now. I've already ordered two, and they're supposed to be here a week from today. So hopefully those get here a little bit earlier. But other than that, yeah.
Community manager Ventus Knight has said that there is a competitive scene on the horizon because this round of Bakugan, we have two different games. The toy battling game that only uses the toys and the character cards, and the trading card game, which uses a 40-card deck of cards and the Bakugan figures in a complex strategy game. And that's pretty exciting. The exact details on the competitive scenes are kind of blurry right now, but I'm sure we'll get more information when the series officially releases. And something good about this time around is that since the game is made and marketed by people who love trading card games, they know that a lot of people would like to play this game. So there is no age limit like there was before because they're targeting everybody with this trading card game.
Hallelujah.
Oh, yeah. So you can go to any Bakugan event near you whenever those will get announced. And speaking of Bakugan events near you, something that I personally enjoy is that they're going to possibly support local game stores. So if you can tell your local game store to get in contact with Ventus Knight on really any form of social media,
I believe the recommended way to contact is through Facebook because they have open DMs on there.
Yeah, Facebook is a good way for the contact to be started, but get them hooked up with Ventus Night and maybe stuff will happen.
As for like more official events, I remember there being about 3 official ones announced up to this point. I don't exactly remember where they're at or when they're at.
I know there's one in Atlanta, one in Las Vegas, and I can't remember the third one.
I can look up those events right now.
All right, while he's doing that, we'll just sit here and be like, I wish there was one coming near me. Because currently right now there's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's to be expected. You know, only the major cities get them, but, you know, it'd be nice.
I live near a major city.
Well, yeah.
Right now, the 3 events announced are at cons, so maybe there will be more events announced in the future, depending on demand. And if you have any like things that you'd like to see in terms of like variations of products, like booster boxes or stuff like that, just bring them up with the community manager or any of the social medias, and possibly if there isn't enough demand for something like booster boxes or blind packs, they could be made. And those 3 events that we were talking about are March 14th to the 17th, 2019 at Emerald City Comic-Con in Seattle, Washington. May 23rd to the 26th, 2019, MomoCon in Atlanta, Georgia. And July 3rd through the 7th, 2019, Anime Expo in Los Angeles, California.
Some pretty nice events, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Which means freaking expensive if you want to go. But
True.
also only East Coast and only West Coast. So rest in peace, you Midwest boys.
And the entirety of Canada.
Yeah,
True.
but it's to be expected.
What?
Canada doesn't real.
Yeah.
Canada's just a fake country, and they use
It's
Australia
just northern
being a fake-
Montana.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, that's pretty much it in terms of the products, the game, and stuff. So why don't we talk a little bit about this first episode, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, so
on.
if you haven't seen it yet, we're going to be talking about all of episode 1 of Bakugan Battle Planet, that is Origin of the Species Part 1 and Part 2. So if you have seen it and you'd like to listen to our commentary, carry on. If you don't care, carry on. If you don't want to be spoiled, what are you doing? Go watch it right now.
Yeah, what the heck? It's been on YouTube for like 2 weeks now.
Actually, probably pretty darn close.
I mean, also on the Cartoon Network app if you want to watch it legally. I mean, it's still free. So,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah, the first 10, technically 20 episodes are up on the app. So, yeah.
You just have to sign in with your cable provider to watch anything past the first 2 episodes. So, yeah. Anyway, back to the first episode.
Right. So, in general, what would we say our thoughts were about the series? Like expectations? Were they met? Were they not met? What do you guys think?
So, I don't think the first episode is actually a great representation of everything after it. But with that being said, going into the first 2 episodes, I wasn't disappointed. I thought the comedy was, not as bad as I was expecting it to be, and definitely a very pretty show animation wise in just the first 2 episodes. So that was great.
Yeah, I know I mentioned before how there was a 4chan post that said it was going to be animated similar to I forget what it was called now.
Voltron?
Yeah, it was that said it was going to be animated similar to Voltron, and then from the clip I saw, like it seemed like Voltron seemed really choppy, so I was kind of worried. No, not really. Not that bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't really bad at all. So that's definitely a good thing.
I was hoping for really expressive animation and like good acting and very clear characterization of characters first and foremost, and a good plot. Not like a good plot as in like a good plot as in followable. Like you can follow it on like some episodes in the original series. And I think while it got a bit muddy here and there, you could follow the plot of this first episode pretty well.
Right.
All right, and my opinion on this. When I first watched it, I was kind of disappointed, to be completely honest. And before Rigatoni says anything, you better mute yourself, buddy. I rewatched it a second and a third time. And on the second time, I realized that some of the things that Rigatoni and Siwadai had said were correct. And I started to appreciate it a bit more. And wow, it is a pretty fine episode. Again, I don't think it's good representation of the series as a whole. And I think the episodes coming after it are great. But overall, I guess it's one way to be introduced to the series. And it was quite funny at times, especially when they see the Hyde Matrix for the first time. That always makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the pilot is generally not a decent way of judging how a show is going to be, because it's mostly just trying to appeal to the network to get it greenlit to actually go onto the network for regular airing.
But enough about so our vague ideas about the expectations of the series and stuff. Let's dive into the nitty gritty and start going through what actually happened this episode.
Alrighty. So it roughly starts off with mentioning something called the Great Collision, which we figure out happened 12 years prior to the story.
Mm-hmm. A big blue ball of plasma flame hit the Earth, and really flashily, it did nothing. No
we all
one was
forgot
hurt.
about it.
Yeah, it just kind of happened. No one got hurt or anything, so just kind of faded back into obscurity, even though it was a mesmerizing event. Then, 12 years later...
12 years later, we have this group of stupid kids called Leah, Winton, and Dan with their dog Lightning, who decided to quote-unquote break in to what looks like a gigantic impact site where they believe was the source of the Great Collision. And our friend Dan is prepping up to be the subject of a video where they are blowing the lid off of the entire Great Collision operation. They're going to finally expose that nothing actually happened 12 years ago. And then it ends up being a birthday surprise for him.
Yeah. You got to see in the little antics that happen with getting over the fence and sneaking into the impact site. A lot of the characters, goofy little tics and traits, and really good way of introducing these guys, even though if it's a bit heavy-handed on the exposition of the characters.
Incredibly.
Yeah, incredibly, but while also telling a lot, it does a lot of show, don't tell, so it overall pretty good in characterizing them pretty quickly. Speaking of Dan's birthday surprise, we find out that he was born on the exact same day as the Great Collision. So that's probably not going to play into the plot at all, probably.
I wonder if it's I don't quite remember because I saw this episode a while ago. Was it at all implied that he was born as the Great Collision happened?
I'm not sure. We just know it's the same day. And that red streak in his hair is because of the Great Collision, as his website bio has said. It's
that's
heavily
true.
implied that's because of the Great Collision, because it's a red streak in his hair that he's had since birth.
Right. So, shortly after that point, there's some goings on, and then there is a random voice credited as Vestroya that just says Bakugan. It confuses the group for a minute, and then they notice this like ball sphere thing of goop with like a smaller ball in it.
Yeah.
Dan
And
goes
Dan-
for it and pulls out a red sphere.
Pretty strange. But as Dan grabs the sphere, he starts to see something. Some hexagons around him. It's incredible. And then it cuts out to the outside world's view where he's dancing around like a crazed lunatic.
Winton believes that the goop has gone to his brain or something and tries to get him into gear, but when he touches his shoulder, he starts seeing it too. And then they both get in on the antics.
And then Leah walks in, same shtick happens, and then they're all dancing happily in their crazed lunacy while Lightning is
Watches
off to the side.
in confusion. I would have liked it if Lightning joined in, but you know.
Rule of threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, shortly after this point, Winton finds a Bakugan, Leah finds a Bakugan, and then Lightning does too.
Yeah. And then, strangely enough, Dan sees a red hexagon on the ground and thinks, well, what else do you do with a ball? Then roll it. Then throws it over this hexagon, causing it to transform into the mighty monster form Dragonoid, who declares Dan as his partner.
But before that, it freaked all the kids out and made them run away.
Of course, because it's a giant kaiju.
Pretty much. So after that happens, that is basically the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 2 begins with going through their YouTube antics of discovering the Bakugan, having a bunch of battle videos, and other stuff that you do when a new toy releases. They become basically the hub of finding out what all of these parts and new stuff does with the Bakugan, like these weird hexagon tiles on the ground that have different effects when they throw them at their Bakugan, that they dub Baku Cores, TM.
And what I really like about that is that this show actually goes through a bit of their thought process in making the rules. I know in the original series it says like me and a bunch of friends came up with this cool new game, but that's pretty much where it ends. Like, you don't really hear any deliberation on the rules or terms. It just happens.
Like, where did they get the Baku meters from? How did they figure all this stuff out? What's even going on here? You know, stuff like that. This show actually does, and does well.
And along with that, a bunch of other kids start finding Bakugan. So, you know, the awesome ones, as they dub themselves, are basically the main hub on Bakugan information for now. And
For now.
yeah, so something else that's to note, only kids born after the Great Collision are able to activate the hide matrix, or at least see it, and, interact with the Bakugan for now.
For now.
Sounds like discrimination to me.
For now.
Speaking of discrimination, that's actually a plot point in the original series, where when the cards fall from the sky, at least in the Japanese version, only the kids are interested in them. And they just kind of like say that, and then it's never deliberated on. It's just like only the kids were interested in the cards. Only the kids. And then they found out that the monsters happened when you roll the balls over these cards. And then they decided the rules on online forums. And yeah, that's all there is to say from the original series.
Alrighty, moving on with a bit more of episode 2. After their antics, we then see the continuation of a battle that was sort of started at the very beginning of episode 1 that we glossed over. It's between Dan and this mysterious character known as Magnus, and with a Bakugan who seems very much like a Hydronoid parallel, being a two-headed Hydra. So, pretty much it's just battle, so on and so forth. And then eventually we have Winton and Trox coming in, Leah and Pegatrix coming in, which is very interesting because Leah got Gorthion as her first Bakugan. And then we have Lightning and Halcor jumping in as well. So the four of them work to fight off Magnus and his Nilius, his Webam, and his Fangzor. I believe it was Fangzor, correct?
Yep.
Yes, it was. So they work on fighting those off, and then all of a sudden, Magnus is joined by 3 other people. This this little girl, and a much older guy in like a cape. Well, who does he think he is?
Spectra.
And then this one kid who looks like he's basically doing a slap squat.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Our favorite scene kid. Oh man. We have a scene kid, a middle-aged man, a Lolita, and of course Edgelord himself, Magnus. And they all start taking digs on Magnus for apparently losing to the awesome ones until he decides he didn't lose because they only lowered their Bakugan's B power, the measure of how much power they have to continue fighting. It's not a measure of strength. If my number is higher, I win. Yeah. So he declares himself the winner and says, awesome ones, you better watch out. You haven't won this one. And also, stop posting videos. That's how we almost beat you.
And then they promptly said, screw you. We're going to post our videos anyway.
They actually went through with that plot point in the show immediately, taking either taking the lampshade off or hanging it right on. Like it's like, and stop putting videos on the internet. And then a few seconds later, voiceover Dan says, we didn't listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's such a Dan thing to do too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, very much.
Also,
but as we all know, the awesome ones love their ad revenue.
Of course. All about the views.
Something to note about our villains is that immediately after saying that, they teleport in an they teleport away in a orb of blue light somehow. That's a bit interesting. I bet we'll figure out what that is later.
I bet.
But yeah, so they say, we didn't stop posting videos. And there's a lesson that they learned that day, that anybody could watch their videos, and Bakugan can be used for good or evil depending on its user. And as
it just so happens that they show 2 characters at the same time.
A blonde child with a blue tie and blue dress shirt, and a much older looking man with silver hair and golden goggles with an evil smirk on his face.
By golly, guys, I wonder who those 2 characters could be.
I wonder who the blonde is.
The blonde.
Yeah. It can't be Shun. You can't be blonde and Japanese. Not in my anime.
So that's essentially the second episode in a nutshell. Just a bit of a battle stuff, all that goodness. Oh yeah, and then another thing to comment on is Dan, the idiot he is, almost gets himself killed by running right through the battlefield.
Yeah, so let's dissect the battle a bit further by describing how battles take place in the series. So instead of rolling out your Bakugan onto a gate card and having two battle once two are on the gate card, battles work out a bit differently. They are not based on G power, instead reducing your opponent's B power to 0 by using different abilities and effects on them. And note that these abilities don't take the form of cards; they take form of, powers that the Bakugan already have inside them. But in order to raise your Bakugan's B power and power up their moves, you must take a Baku core of the matching faction to your Bakugan and toss it to them. But if you don't have a clear shot, then you might have to run up to them and deliver it personally, like Dan had to do in this battle to power up Dragonoid for one final attack.
The reason he basically had to run out to it was because Drago was incredibly weak and couldn't really get up. And it was a bit of a distance away, so he needed to run his way to it.
Mm-hmm. So it adds a lot of brawler interaction in the battle, and I think that's going to be a treat both in strategy-wise and visually.
So, yeah, definitely adds a bit more than just giant creatures fighting. The brawlers actually have more to do with it.
And the brawlers are in the same battlefield as the Bakugan, so they can get crushed.
Like what almost happened to Dan.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't wait for that episode.
I can't wait till the series gets rated mature.
Oh no. Ooh. This is the Bakugan we've all wanted.
But never got.
It's the Bakugan we wanted but don't deserve.
It's like Bakugan, but licensed by Fox.
Ooh.
Yeah, let's never do that.
Agreed.
Mm.
Let's see. Any other thoughts?
The Bakugan are mechanical now, and I think that's a good design choice because they look rad as hell.
Oh yeah, they look very good. Very good.
And they're not even like robot. They're just kind of
like inspired.
Yeah, that could be a robot. Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting when we hear about what happens, because we do know that Vestroya is something present in the anime right now, but we don't know to what extent. So let's see how they end up explaining the Great Collision and the kind of mechanical.
As it says on the website, Vestroya is some kind of living planet, so we'll have to see what that means.
And also, according to the website, the Earth has merged with it.
It's quite literally two worlds colliding on the inside.
What?
What is this?
Do we have to fight for what's right before it's gone and then repeat that 3 times and state what the series is?
Oh, boy.
I mean, probably. I think that's a requirement, right? For like every anime?
You would think. Save the world and be back before dinner. I think that's a Powerpuff Girls thing, though.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think, overall for a first episode, it was definitely a pilot episode that they had to show the network to show them all of the things that the series had to offer, like its comedy, its characters, and like the battles, and really doesn't show off its villains in full light, and they kind of seem flat in this episode. But that does definitely change later on.
Yeah, and, we may have seen all 10.
Yeah, this honestly is the worst episode out of the ones that we've seen so far. But if this is the worst episode, then like the rest of the series, that just goes to show you what quality it's at.
Oh yeah,
definitely
not bad at all. Anyway, unless anyone has anything else to say.
No, I think we're good.
I guess we'll end this episode here. A little bit of a short one, mostly because we need to get back into the swing of things here and slow news week.
Yeah. And we're recording on a new day, which is really weird.
With potentially a new upload schedule. With the episodes releasing on Saturdays from here on out, we'll probably be recording on Saturdays, uploading Sundays. Don't hold us to that, though. We're going to try our best. But hopefully that's something that can happen. Some other short form quotes content can be on the way. And we'll discuss more, including episodes 3 and 4, in the next podcast, where hopefully some of us will have hands on Bakugan, maybe.
Except for the Canadian.
Ripperoni.
Yeah, but nobody cares about Canadians, so it's fine.
Ow.
And with that, we will see you all next week for another episode of the Bakugan Wiki Podcast. I have been Venomous Brass.
And I've been Hato, known as Lamar Devante.
I've been See What I.
And I've been waiting 7 long years.
And it's finally here.
Goodbye.